everyone, welcome to Anthroculture. In this lecture series, we will deep dive into diverse field of anthropology, attempting to understand the complexities of human culture, society, and evolution. This lecture series would gradually cover the subject relevant syllabus of various exams such as UGC NET, UPSC Civil Service exams, and other state exams that have anthropology as a subject as well. So on this note, let's move on to our first lecture, which would be an introduction to anthropology and would peek briefly into the meaning, scope, and development of anthropology. So first is meaning of anthropology. What does anthropology means? Anthropology is derived from the Greek word actually, anthropos, which means human, and logos, which means science, defining it as a science of humans. Anthropology is a comparative study of mankind. So, anthropology by American Anthropological Association defines a study of humans encompassing both past and present. It draws out from various disciplines including social, biological, humanities, physics, chemistry, and even physical sciences. So, anthropology basically focuses on different aspects of human experiences. The broad range of anthropological interest focus on study that has led to creation of sub-branches as well. These sub-branches are divided into four parts. First is physical or biological anthropology, socio-cultural anthropology, archaeological anthropology, and linguistic anthropology. The basic idea is that anthropology an integrative science that tries to understand human as a whole, that how the society is formed, how the cultures have evolved, how the human body has transformed into present environmental situation and everything. So, given rather a single idea, anthropology is a holistic discipline as it conveys. Going on, elemental anthropology. Moving on further, we would now see the elemental importance of anthropology. So now in this first lecture, we would cover everything in brief, as I said, and then we would gradually go deeper for a better understanding and for a gradual perspective. So first is holistic understanding. Anthropology always develops itself holistically. It adopts a holistic approach to studying human existence by considering multiple factors such as culture, biology, history, and environment. This rather follows a more interdisciplinary perspective that allows the anthropologist to grasp the complexity of human societies, that how they formed, what was their culture, and what were they doing in their everyday life, how it has evolved in the environmental conditions that has taken place during the course of time on the earth, and so on. There can be other factors as well that affects the interactions of humans, such as migration and so on. So this these factors are collected cumulatively and then are studied to understand how it developed. Second aspect is origin and development of humans. Anthropologists always delve into origins and evolutionary disciplines of human species, exploring questions about our ancestor, that how they grew, what was the condition of their lifestyle, their behavior, and from where they migrated over time, and adaptations to different environment over time, as I said. So origin and development of humans is seen as a mostly archaeological subject, but however, since anthropology is considered to be holistic in nature, so along with archaeology in today's date, anthropology also attempt to see the linguistic features and socio-cultural aspects, physical aspects as well. For example, if we see Indus Valley civilization, so we all have studied about Indus Valley civilization since our school days. The past has been reconstructed. There have been archaeological findings of seals, statues, objects of daily use, pots and potteries and everything. However, we always knew that scriptures that were found in Indus Valley civilization has not been deciphered till date. So reconstruction of the past and origin and development of humans goes hand in hand. And we need more anthropological and archaeological findings to concrete our evidences that how the human societies have been structured and established 8,000 or 10,000 or millions of years ago. The third point is interplay between environment and culture. Culture have been an integrated part of anthropology between environment and culture. Anthropologists examine how the environment shapes culture and vice versa. We are seeing this since, let's say, Harappa, and even in the archaeological sites such as Asprochalico, Kokinopilos in the Europe as well. So anthropologists basically assist and examine and investigate actually how human societies adapt to their surroundings and how they develop a lifestyle around it, whatever the resource or natural resources they have. They modify their lifestyle, they modify their biological practices, they modify their social practices, they modify the economy and adapt accordingly. As well as we have seen also many cultural beliefs that are dependent upon the environment. Today, when we travel throughout India, we are very aware that many cultural practices are based on trees, totems, and so on. So these are nothing but the interdependence between environment and how a culture has been formed. So it can be asserted that environment plays a huge role in the influencing of a cultural establishment, of a social structure, of a society to form. So interplay between environment and culture is a deep aspect, and it is one of the most important point among the societies that anthropologists study during the investigations and fieldworks. Further going on, so the fourth point is understanding the human variation. Understanding the human variation is basically how each region on the earth possess a variety of human biological variations across different populations and regions. For example, when we see the African population, we term them as the Negroid population. While when we see the Asiatic features such as people from Japan, people from China, Mongolia, and so on, we refer to them as the Mongoloid features because of the epicanthic eye fold being one of the prominent reason. So variety of human population and in their biological formation constructs one of the most important and crucial understanding of anthropological study, and it also helps to grasp from where the human and how the human have developed and have grown since the course of time. They seek to understand the reason actually behind such variation. These who anthropologists, of course, whether the change in the biological feature is genetic, environmental, or cultural in nature, or how does it contribute to the human diversity. So basically, what happens is when we see a variety of physical features that change during different lands on earth, so we attempt to understand what was the reason that's of such change and how did such drastic physical changes or very minute physical changes or sociological or physiological or anatomical changes took place, and how the evolution have played its role. So it is very important to grasp the basic variation or the intrinsic variations that we today see in the human beings, or what we say as Homo sapiens. Another point is reconstructing the past. Anthropologists use various methods, including archaeological excavations, linguistic analysis, ethnographic research, surveys, to reconstruct past and societies and to understand their cultural and biological phenomena. By piecing these evidences together from different sources, anthropologists attempt to uncover valuable insights into ancient civilizations and their way of life, similar to what we have tried to understand from Indus Valley civilization, which exemplifies anthropologists' holistic approach, as we discussed in the first slide. Through archaeological findings such as artifacts, architecture, skeletal remains, combined with genetic analysis of the DNA, anthropologists have also gained a comprehensive understanding of Harappan society and similar wise in various other societies or various other civilizations which were undiscovered or rather discovered uh, from various archaeological sites such as Rakhigadi, Dholavira, Lothal, and so on, which gives us a clear demarcation of how economy was sustained there and how various activities such as uh, be it the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro or the ports of Lothal, and it gives us an idea that how the channelization of exports and imports were done during that period of time. So this is nothing but the reconstructing the past through archaeological tools and anthropological methods. Hence, reconstructing the past becomes one of the major utilities of anthropological studies. The last but not the least point which we are going to discuss is insights from genetic analysis. Genetic study of skeletal remains, let us take the example of Indus Valley civilization only here, that have revealed intriguing insights of past societies. So basically, when we see the skeletal remain, when we study the skeletal remains from Harappan civilization or Indus Valley civilization, we come across various points, various aspects which gives us information about how the human used to be. And one such example is the skeletal remain that lies in the National Museum in Delhi today. So it not only gives us the biological insight but also the socio-cultural aspect, the belief, tradition, rituals, and everything that the human of Harappan civilization used to embody. So one more example is analysis of genetic relationship between male and female skeletons that suggest, let us say, the matrilocality or patrilocality form of residence, where married couples live with wife's family or the husband's family, or new local, let us say, which is separated from both the families and living separately in another dwelling or a hut, and so on. So these integrations of various aspects, these elements of anthropology does not only provide us a diverse aspect to study humans, but also a comprehensive aspect to underscore anthropology's holistic view of human existence and how interconnectedness of different aspects of these elements form a human as a whole. We are now moving forward towards the scope of anthropology. So, what is the scope of anthropology? Where do we see anthropology? And how do we perceive anthropology as a subject of future importance? So, anthropology is basically utilized in pretty much every aspect, and since it is a science of humans, and since it is a study of humans actually, so we may use anthropology in various disciplines of arts and science. Moving forward, we will now discuss what is the scope of anthropology in various disciplines and various branches and various variety rather of anthropological subjects. So anthropology is basically divided into four parts. The first is cultural anthropology, the second is archaeology, the third is linguistic anthropology, and fourth is physical anthropology. The first is cultural anthropology, or what we can say is about socio-cultural anthropology. The socio-cultural anthropology is the study of culture and society of human beings and their very recent past, or rather, I would say their recent past or even the past. It is basically the study about how the society has established themselves in the society with variety of cultures, traditions, beliefs, rituals, thinking patterns, or rather say thought processes, and many other factors which are similar. Traditional cultural anthropology study living cultures and present their observations in an ethnography. Ethnography is nothing but just the studied written report of a society which was such studied. Let me clarify it. When an anthropologist, or rather a sociocultural anthropologist, goes to a field and does his field work on studying the culture of a society, and he comes back from the field work and writes a report. So that report is called an ethnographic report. And what he studied, or what the fieldwork he conducted, the research he conducted, the whole process of him or her going to a field or to a society or to a village or to a community and studying the various sociocultural aspects is called the ethnography. Sociocultural anthropology is a major branch of anthropology. It focuses on comparative study of human culture and society. It involves the intensive examination of customary patterns of human behavior. It also includes thoughts, processes, feelings of social groups and organizations. It was during the time in Great Britain, socio-cultural anthropology is referred as cultural social anthropology, while in America it was termed as cultural anthropology. Historically, similar studies were known as ethnology in 19th century. Ethnology, as it is called today in Germany, Poland, or in European Union as well. In many parts of Indian studies, anthropological study have been referred as ethnology as well. Social anthropology basically seeks to understand the structure of human society, that how the customary beliefs, patterns, and everything, the pattern of living, social customs such as marriages or institutions rather, marriage, temples, religion, prayers, worship, political organization, how do they come together to perform together rather in a society. It explores both difference and similarities among the societies, and it basically explores also a very intrinsic and complex part of human society. The multidimensional nature, as we can say, of human life, as it has led to the development of several sub-branches from social anthropology. Today, when we read contemporary anthropological notes in various journals and various magazines or various anthropological writings, so many sub-branches of social anthropology has also emerged in today's days, such as economic anthropology, political anthropology, psychological anthropology is there, anthropology of religion is there, anthropology of music is there, and many sub-branches as well. So recently, communication and visual anthropology has addressed a evolving demand of society. It has come out to be a very, very particular and rather a emerging field or sub branch of social anthropology. Second is archaeology. I beg your pardon. Second is biological or physical anthropology. Physical anthropology is also known as study of human body, genetics, and evolution. Physical anthropology focuses on human body and humanity's status among living beings. That how human have developed its body, its physical structure, its physical aspects, its biological elements such as DNA, RNA, chromosomes, and everything that comprises under biological anthropology. Its main emphasis is on human evolution, variation, and adaptation. As it says, it's focused on human evolution, variation, and adaptation. That how humans have developed itself uh, to adapt under various environmental circumstances, um, as the uh, famous Darwinian quote suggests, the survival of the fittest. That whoever adapts or whoever, whichever uh, being, living being present in the environment adapts to the environmental conditions at earliest is only fittest to survive. Physical anthropology further examines the physical characteristics of human using principles from biology and various scientific disciplines such as anatomy, physiology, embryology, and paleontology. It further includes zoology as well. The scope of physical anthropology is vast and large as it encompasses several branches including primatology, paleontology, human genetics, growth and development, and forensic anthropology. As we know, forensic anthropology is very, very vital in crime detection and police investigations. The next branch of the study is archaeological anthropology, also known as what we can say is archaeology. So, archaeology studies basically relies on the humanity's past. The archaeological anthropology focuses on recovering and studying the relics of humanity's past, as the first point suggests. It examines basically the human culture through the analysis of material remains and environmental data which is available. Archaeological findings vary from time and space, and archaeology covers more major time period including prehistory, proto-history, and civilization eras. So basically there are uh, three keywords, which is prehistory, proto-history, and civilization eras. So basically prehistory is which is the history which is before the written material is available, while proto-history is something which remains in the transition of unwritten and written history, while civilization era is basically when the humanity or the humans have established the societies or started to form the society. Archaeologists basically analyze various artifacts such as tools, pottery, earth, enclosures, and humans, along with plants and animal remains as well, that dates back far as 2.5 million years. So, material products are also scrutinized by archaeologists, which are tools, pottery, and so on, as well as human. So, studying the relics of man's past, as Rowe suggests in his work in 1970. Archaeological anthropology also helps to study the contemporary society as well from the light of their socio-cultural practices set in prehistoric period times. This can be found from Ember and Ember 2002. The scope of archaeological anthropology includes reconstructing of lifestyle of ancient societies that left no written records or whose written records remain undeciphered. We have seen so many archaeological sites in India such as Dholavira, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Rakhigarhi, and even to the sites such as Bhimbetka or the caves of Hathigumfa in Orissa region, or even the caves of Aurangabad. So, archaeological anthropology not only relies on the archaeological artifacts itself, but also it varies or reduces down that how during the before written time, I meant to say that the time which was before the historic era was written, how societies were established and how societies used to function, and how these crucial aspects of society formation, such as culture, such as tradition, such as adaptation to environment, were performed, and how it is utilized or seen in today's world. This becomes very important to understand today's world as well as our past as humans. So, archaeological anthropology relies on archaeological utilities and anthropological tools combined together to study the human's past, which was before even known, before the known subconscious. Moving on further comes the linguistic anthropology. Linguistic anthropology is basically study of human languages and their cultural relevance. As we know today, there are about 22 official languages of India, and there are more than 4,500 dialects as of today. Linguistic anthropology is a branch of anthropology focused on studying of human languages and their relationship with culture and behavior. It investigates the emergence and divergence of languages over time. So we can understand this point, that how the time has shifted and how languages have evolved to the ease of people, and how people have utilized language as a tool to make their understanding better within the society, such as when we see the languages such as Bhojpuri or Maithili or Avdi, and then we see the relevance of them with Hindi, we find that there are many similarities that lies within these languages. However, due to regional differences and due to regional divergence, these language and the words and etymology of these words which are used in these languages differ. Hence, eventually the meaning differs. Initially, this field focused on the origin, evolution and preservation of languages at risk of disappearing, but it has since expanded to encompass various facets of language and its impact in social life. Linguistic anthropology also collaborates with related disciplines such as anthropological linguistics, ethnolinguistics, social linguistics as interdisciplinary sciences. It examines the language roles in cultural transmission and role in human behavior, and the cultural transmission occurs through language, making linguistic anthropology valuable in understanding cultural variation and human behavior. So when we say that a person speaks more than two languages or three languages, there is an idea in psychological anthropology that when a person shifts from one language to other, his subconscious minds also shift. He or she tends to differ in his physical actions, in his body language, in his movements, and how the man or the woman carries the idea or carries the easiness or toughness or the difficulties when he or she changes the language from one to another. The scope of linguistic anthropology involves studying both past and present languages, including deciphering cultures through unwritten languages, not just written ones. So, when the linguistic anthropology studied the unwritten and written languages, we come across the languages such as Kharoshti, Pali, Prakrit, Brahmi, etc. So, we all have studied in our schools during our history period that Ashok's scriptures are written in Pali or Prakrit language or Brahmi scripts. Going on further comes one of the most important aspect of anthropology, which is applied anthropology. In contemporary scenario, applied anthropology is very important as it investigates, examines, and addresses the real world issues that are happening in today's world. So, applied anthropological knowledge to the real world issues. It involves anthropological knowledge, theories, and methods to address the real world issues and solve practical problems in diverse contexts. It encompasses a wide range of fields where anthropology expertise can be utilized, including but not limited to healthcare, development projects, environmental conservation, education, policy making, and business. So, whenever anthropology is sought in these aspects, such as policy making, in nation building, in conservation of environment, in conservation of wildlife and birds, in developmental projects, and most importantly in healthcare, applied anthropology seeks that how real world problems are actually there existing, and not just people who are making policy about these critical issues are just visualizing the problems from a certain distance. They have to go into the field, they have to go into the communities, into the societies where these policies would be addressed and implemented, and have to study from their own viewpoint whom these policies would be implemented to. Hence, it would result in better implementation and execution of the policy. Applied anthropology often works closely with communities, government, non-profit organizations, and other stakeholders to understand their needs, concerns, and cultural dynamics. So it becomes more of a sustainable solution as it suggests. Collaborations with communities and along with these policymakers make the policy more sustainable, more executionable, and more implement oriented. As discussed, it includes areas like medical, development, and forensic anthropology. Developmental anthropology is one of the significant fields, if I can explain briefly, within the applied anthropology, where practitioners work on development projects aimed at improving the well-being of communities, and it engages in participatory approaches to identify community priorities, design culturally appropriate interventions, and assess the impact of developmental programs actually, right? Whereas the forensic anthropology utilizes the applied anthropological techniques to assist in legal investigations, particularly in the identification of human remains. Forensic anthropologists use their knowledge somewhat to skeletal biology and human variation to determine the biological profile of unidentified individuals to dead bodies during the crime scene investigation, and provide crucial evidence in criminal cases and disaster victim identification efforts, which are stand truthful and scientific in the court of law. Hence, and applied anthropologists also play a vital role in promoting social justice and advocating for marginalized communities. By conducting research on such issues such as racism, inequality, human rights violation, they contribute to raise awareness among the people that how such issues are very critical and should be addressed firmly, that a change is required within the society, influencing the policy makers and the decisions made on policy, fostering a positive social change. Third part of this video, which is the development of anthropology that took place in the world. So, ancient civilizations such as those in Mesopotamia, India, China, or say Egypt developed complex social structures that was comprised of religious beliefs, practices, traditions, and cultural norms. Hence, scholars in these civilizations engaged in early forms of observation that included notes, diaries, travelogues, and everything, which further classified and documented the human societies, although their method was very often intertwined with mythology, religion, and political ideology. Later on, Greek philosophers such as Herodotus, Aristotle, and Plato made significant contributions to the human nature, society, and culture. They attempted to study the societal forms and societal practices. While Herodotus is often regarded as one of the most earliest ethnographers, as there were evidences of his writing documents which documented the customs and traditions of various cultures encountered during his travels. And Aristotle's works on biology and classification laid ground for later scientific inquiry into human diversity, and also it helped to compare or to give an analytical note that how human biology has shifted or evolved rather from that time of Aristotle to today's date. Gradually comes the medieval period, which is about 500 CE to 1500 AD. And during this medieval period, scholarship in Europe was largely dominated by religious institutions, as church was holding its authority and several Islamic regions were growing, and in this South Asia the Islam was propagating, and with a focus on theology, philosophy and natural history. Islamic scholars made significant contributions to various fields, including geography, medicine, philosophy, and laid foundation for later scientific advances in Islamic Golden Age. Then comes the Renaissance or the early modern period, which is from 14th to 18th century AD. The Renaissance saw a revival of interests in classical learning and emergence of humanism, which emphasized the study of human nature and society. European explorers and travelers documented their encounters with indigenous people in America, Africa, and Asia. So we can get an idea that how Marco Polo also documented his writings, and similar wise many travelers like Marco Polo documented that how people differ in their practices and everyday life from different regions of the world as they travel from one place to another. It led to increased curiosity about human diversity and cultural practices actually among the other kings or rulers of the various regions. Early modern thinkers such as Montaigne, Rousseau, and Montesquieu explored questions of cultural relativism, social organizations, and origins of equality. Montesquieu was the one who gave the idea that if a nation has to run equally and without any partiality, then there has to be three pillars, which is judiciary, legislature, and the third is executive body. The Enlightenment era, or that happened during the colonial expansion, brought a shift towards empirical observation, reason, and scientific inquiry. The empirical era, we can say, in anthropological studies began with the Fraser's work of Golden Bough, and it was one of the most earliest, or to say the one of the first ethnographic work that took place during the 18th or 17th, 18th and 19th century. Colonial expansion in encounters with indigenous people led to the development of comparative studies and theories of human progress, often influenced by Eurocentric biases. This stands quite true to this date as European expansion was happening at a larger pace, and Europeans were taking charge over various regions of the world, and the concept of armchair anthropology was developing gradually. The colonizers used to rule or used to administer one region, and then they would say to the people that okay, come to us and tell us about yourself, and we would write about how the people are living, what is their culture, what is their notions, what is their traditions, practices, and everything. And writing anthropology or writing ethnology began to cook, I would say. So scholars like Johann Blumenbach and James Pritchard laid the foundation for later anthropological inquiries into human diversity and racial classification. Even to a certain extent, James Pritchard said that the diversity that began within biological differences was only after the generation that came after Adam, and it became a matter of controversy. So development of anthropology is not a mere thing of few hundred years back, but it dates back to about 3000 BC, when civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, India started to establish. And inscriptions, drawings, wall paintings, murals, all these accumulate to give us proper reference, proper data, proper structure, to give us understanding that how societies were being functioned and how societies were structured in a manner that it governed a certain amount of people under a certain structural discipline. So next question comes, why anthropology? The question is answered in 5 points in brief. First is understanding tribal societies as of today. When we say why anthropology, anthropology becomes a crucial tool to understand tribal societies. Anthropology provides a unique lens actually through which study and understanding of tribal societies become easier, or rather say the complexities of tribal societies, their economy, their politics, their religious beliefs, their customs become a matter of proper investigation, and anthropological tools become quite useful in understanding or grasping those points or those aspects. Immersing ourselves in customs, traditions, and belief systems of indigenous people, we gain profound insights into alternative mode of living and organizing societies, and it gives us an idea that how the tribal societies, whom we say they differ from us as civilization, they are primitives and they are quite early centrics, and we are the one who are civilized. It gives an idea that how they come very close to us, yet they remain very far from us. This fosters a deeper appreciation for cultural diversity and challenges ethnocentric viewpoints. So ethnocentric viewpoint is such a viewpoint in which we keep our cultural or our own value system in the center, and then we attempt to compare the value systems of the study community. Second point comes is genetic and historical perspective. Anthropology actually incorporates genetic research and historical analysis to unravel the intricate tapestry of human evolution and migration. So it tries to connect how historical events such as migration, such as natural disasters, such as calamities, forced people to move from one location to another location, and how due to these events the genetic or the body function changed in the name of adaptation. It emphasizes the importance of human evolution through the study of fossils, DNA analysis, and archaeological evidences. Anthropologists also reconstruct humanity's evolutionary journey, shedding light on our shared origin and forces that have shaped our species over the millennium. The third point is cultural relativism, and it is one of the foundational principles of anthropology, which emphasizes the importance of understanding cultural practices within their own context without passing judgment based on their own cultural bias. So basically in cultural relativism, we try that how the culture or the social aspect of the study individual or the subject society or the community the ethnographer is trying to study is different on what grounds than his own, without keeping his cultural or social background or social upbringing as the point of verification. In this context, both the social backgrounds, the researchers and the subjects stands true and validated equally. This perspective actually promotes the tolerance, empathy, and a more nuanced understanding of diverse cultural norms and values that adds to the divergence of social importance and social diversity, cultural diversity within the region. The next point is action anthropology. Anthropology is not merely an academic pursuit actually. It is a tool for social change and we can use it for advocacy for various purposes. And action anthropology is one of those tools which involves actively engaging with the communities to address social injustice and to promote human rights or to say empower marginalized groups such as indigenous groups or tribal groups on basis of various social stigmas such as caste, such as religion, and so on. By partnering with local communities, anthropologists actually can enact positive change and bring positive change while contributing to sustainable development initiatives. So this would constitute to action anthropology, that how an ethnographer indulged himself in understanding a community and brought out those changes, brought out those practices that helped in sustaining the environment, sustaining the cultural practices, sustaining the past of the society altogether without harming any aspect or without harming any particular notion in his study. So eventually the anthropology is utilized in reshaping history, or rather reenacting history that challenges conventional narratives of history by incorporating diverse voices and perspective. Through ethnographic research actually and oral history interviews, anthropologists can cover untold stories and amplify the voices of those who are marginalized communities or who are stampeded by communities who are considering themselves civilized. This is sort of an inclusive approach or say holistic approach that history has enabled us, or when I say us, I am referring to anthropologists, to construct a more comprehensive and executionable narrative of the past. So this is why anthropology becomes important to study, and this is why anthropology becomes very useful to restructure or to understand deeply what a society is and how it creates a functionary model that constituting religion, customs, beliefs, values, genetics, adaptations, morals, and the past of the established community or the subject society.